Hello everyone, welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today we're going to be doing a mock draft from the number 10 position. Yesterday was the number 9 position mock draft. If you guys haven't checked that out already, I would highly recommend that as well. So far we've done picks number 2 through 9 in this series. Like I said, today's going to be a mock draft from the number 10 spot. So I'm going to show you guys the draft that I did off camera first. So this was the team we got. We got an A- grade. Fantasy Pros experts, we all got an assortment of A's as well there. So this team had Matthew Stafford, Kenyon Drake, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. This was actually the first time we picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire in a draft. He fell to the second round, so we took him there. Robert Woods, Calvin Ridley, Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones I talked a little bit about yesterday or the day before. So we grabbed him as a wide receiver 3 this time. Eric Ebron, David Montgomery, Deontay Johnson, Anthony Miller, Jordan Howard, Latavius Murray, Boston Scott, and Michael Pittman. So overall, I think this is a pretty great team. Stafford, like I said, is a guy I've been targeting a lot. We took Kenyon Drake in the first, then Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the second. We took Robert Woods in the third. There wasn't really anybody like crazy in the third that I was going after, so we just kind of took him as a safe player. Paired him with Calvin Ridley in the next round. Then we had David Montgomery, Marvin Jones. And then we grabbed some of our sleeper breakout wide receivers for this year, and Deontay Johnson and Anthony Miller. Then we grabbed another starting running back and Jordan Howard, who we've been grabbing a lot in the drafts so far this year. So he kind of helps out, especially like if for some reason if Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't get a whole bunch of the workload right away. And then we got Latavius Murray, who should be he should have some value of his own. So he, like, between him and Howard, they're kind of decent bye-week fillers. We got Boston Scott. Miles Sanders left yesterday's practice with an apparent lower body injury. The Eagles have said he's week to week, but he should be good to go for week 1. This is kind of like a buy low ticket just in case something would happen. I think Scott has a little bit of value on his own in PPR format. And then the last pick otherwise was Michael Pittman. So actually Michael Pittman was the second to last round. Then we took Eric Ebron as our last pick at tight end. I've talked a little bit about him. I like him as a bounce back candidate. I like his schedule, especially in the beginning of the year this year. So for a team that's likely going to stream tight end like myself, picking up somebody like him could be very valuable. We're going to go over to this one. This is the one I'm doing with you guys. Everything's set up exactly the same way. 10th overall pick, PPR format, and let's get started. So we had Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Zeke, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Michael Thomas, and then we had Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, and Miles Sanders. A pretty regular start so far. Maybe you have Michael Thomas go ahead of Dalvin Cook, but otherwise the first 6 picks are pretty much pretty standard. Then you might have a Clyde Edwards-Helaire slip in here, but I mean Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, especially if you're in a draft where people like to go running back heavy early, this is probably pretty typical of what you would see. So being here, we could take a wide receiver like a Davante Adams or Julio Jones. I know they said Davante Adams got hurt yesterday or the day before in practice too, lower body injury. Not expected to be anything serious though. So we took Kenyon Drake in the last one. We took Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the last one. So it looks like running backs are pretty much off the board here. I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a wide receiver this time. So we'll take Davante Adams, see what happens here. So we could take like a Julio Jones here and kind of start like a 0 RB strategy. We could take an Austin Eckler, who's great in PPR format. There's Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb. Julio might be too good a value to pass up here. So maybe we'll start doing a little bit of a 0 RB strategy, especially early on. If we get 2 stud wide receivers in Julio Jones and Davante Adams in this case. So we'll see who comes back to us here. We got Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley. This is the bad thing about like Julio though, is a lot of times if you get back to the area where you could grab Calvin Ridley, I don't always like pairing them together just because if something happens to Matt Ryan or he doesn't have a good week or they face a tough defense and like both of them don't produce, then you got them on the same team, then your team kind of takes a big hit. Somebody like Todd Gurley here maybe. Or we could get like Robert Woods as a solid third wide receiver. He's a pretty safe player as well. I think we're gonna go full on 0 RB strategy here. I think we're gonna take Robert Woods. I'm just gonna make sure there wasn't like a decent tight end there as well. Looks like they're all gone. We're up to the point where Darren Waller is pretty much the best tight end. So we're gonna go Robert Woods here, 3rd round. We'll come back around with an early 4th round pick. See who's there. So now we got the Le'Veon Bells of the world, the James Connors, the Chris Carson, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, people like that. I think we'll take Le'Veon Bell here. Seems like a pretty good start to the draft. We could take a David Montgomery here, kind of stabilize our backfield. Granted, we won't have a true running back number 1. But if we got 3 stud wide receivers and 2 solid guys at running back, our team's pretty safe. So I think that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take David Montgomery here. Mark Ingram was a little bit ahead of him there, but I kind of worry about Mark Ingram this year, given his age, injury. Like, he's had some injury history as well. Bringing in J.K. Dobbins, if Gus Edwards stays around, there's a lot of other people competing for touches in that backfield as well. There has been rumors circulating, though, that Gus Edwards may get traded to the Jaguars. It first came out on a fake Adam Schefter Twitter account, but so far it's just been a rumor. We could go like a Kareem Hunt and DeAndre Swift. Those are pretty both safe plays there. I think we're going to go Will Fuller here, though. Yeah, because he won't be there when we come back. So I'm going for the big upside. We already got 3 really good wide receivers. If we can get Will Fuller, if he hits and he becomes like a wide receiver 1 or a high end number 2, then we got 4 stud wide receivers. I think that's a good way to try to play this strategy. Kareem Hunt's still sitting out there, so he's probably who we're going to pick in this situation. I'll take a look at everybody here real quick. Quarterbacks, we're going to wait. Let's see where we're at tight ends. Tight ends, there's a Hayden Hurst, but it's too early for me to pick him. All the middle round tight ends kind of went off already. If you see this in your league, maybe don't overreact if all these middle round tight ends are gone and pick your Hayden Hurst here. You can wait on tight end. So wide receivers, there's nobody I'm super crazy about here. We got Anthony Miller. I'm going to look at our bye weeks real quick. So actually, Le'Veon Bell and David Montgomery had the same bye week. So that's kind of unfortunate. But if we can grab a Kareem Hunt here, he's a decent bye week filler. It won't hurt our lineup too bad. Our wide receivers are all good spaced apart. Go back over to running back. We'll take Kareem Hunt. Just making sure he didn't have bye week 11 as well. But we got him. And if you had took Mark Ingram now, I wouldn't be too upset about it. Somebody just took him in the 8th round before us. So I don't think that's the end of the world. We can go a Ronald Jones here. Grab an Anthony Miller as well. Tight end. Looks like Hayden Hurst is gone now. Quarterbacks haven't moved at all. Normally I've been going on Anthony Miller here. I kind of think we need to go running back more since we went wide receiver heavy. Cam Akers is there. I don't like Cam Akers. Raheem Mostert is here. He's good value for that, but he's another bye week 11 guy. I'm not real high on him in general. I think we're going to go Ronald Jones here. See if we can hit some upside with him. See all comes off after this pick. Jordan Howard, J.K. Dobbins, they'd probably be 2 other people I'm looking at in this range. Dobbins went off right before us, of course. I was like, hey, maybe we'll get lucky because it seemed like the middle tier, or that tier 3, 4 running backs were taking a while to come off the board. So now here I'm pretty much looking at a Jordan Howard. Anthony Miller's still out there. So I'm just going to take Jordan Howard. We got a couple picks in between here now. Then we'll take a look at our team. So our team so far, we got Le'Veon Bell, David Montgomery, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, Robert Woods, Will Fuller, Kareem Hunt, Ronald Jones, and Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard, so we got 3 bye week 11 running backs. Should be all right because we got these 2 guys in bye week 11 if we need to. You can always pick somebody off the waiver wire. Not the end of the world. Let's see what else we got here. So we could take a Marlon Mack. Hope he does something at the beginning of the year. Not super crazy about that because he's even if he's the starter, he's going to be splitting touches with Jonathan Taylor. Not sure which one will get the goal line opportunities, but Mack's somebody who needed volume to be relevant in fantasy. So we got Preston Williams here, Jalen Reagor, Nikhil. Okay, so I don't think we're just going to take Preston Williams here. He's a guy I like a lot. I feel like in this round he's not bad value at all. When we come back, we'll take a look at another running back. Alexander Madison did come off the board here. Maybe somebody we should have took in the last round. The reports coming out kind of say that Dalvin Cook and the Vikings have hit a snag in contract negotiations. He's obviously still at training camp because the new CBA pretty much makes it so you have to be there, otherwise you forfeit your money. And it's $50,000 a day, so even for guys that make this much money, that's still a decent amount of change. So we got Matt Stafford here. We could take him in the 11th. Everybody else probably got their quarterback already, so we can take a pick here. I really want to go Zach Moss here, but he's another bye week 11, so that kind of sucks. I like Zach Moss's opportunity. We can go a Tony Pollard, a Boston Scott, a Chase Edmonds. We're going to go Chase Edmonds here. So there's a rumor coming out of Cardinals camp apparently that say Cliff Kingsbury said that he believes Chase Edmonds is like a number one running back in the NFL. Like, take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, there's a lot of coach speak that goes on around the league. But at the same time, like, he thinks highly of the guy, so maybe he works his way into a role if Kenyon Drake gets hurt. He's a very high upside backup. But you still have to take into consideration he's the backup at this point. Chase Edmonds has had a little bit of injury history himself. So we need one bench spot, a tight end, and a quarterback still. This is the part where I'm probably going to take Stafford again. If you're getting Stafford like as the 12th quarterback, everybody else kind of got their quarterback, and you're just sitting there waiting, I'm fine taking him in like 12th round. Looks like quite a few tight ends came off afterwards. Our Eric Ebron pick came off the board there. Frank Gore's getting recommended now. Is that just because we have Le'Veon Bell? Maybe that's just because we have Le'Veon Bell. So pretty much here, like the tight ends really dropped down. So it seems like everybody kind of took a second tight end on us. So at this point, you're either taking somebody that has a good week one matchup or like Blake Jarwin here. I can't remember who Blake Jarwin plays week one. He plays the Rams. So he actually doesn't have a bad schedule to start the year, it looks like. So the greens are the good matchups, the reds are the bad matchup, and then everything else is just kind of in between. He's a guy that should get a lot of volume this year with Jason Witten gone. If we take him here, I'm not going to be too mad about it. If he doesn't pan out, you just pick somebody else's up and stream him week to week. Joshua Kelly got sniped on us. He's been one of my late round flyers a lot of times this year. We got our running backs. We got one wide receiver on the bench. We got Will Fuller there. Let's just see who's out there. So running back, we could take an Anthony McFarland Jr., DeAndre Washington, somebody like that. Malcolm Brown, I kind of talked about him a little bit, I believe, in yesterday's video. Bryce Love. I feel like if you're in the 14th round, there's lots of wide receivers here. So we're in the 14th round. Brandon Ayuk's there, Paris Campbell's there, Michael Pittman Jr.'s there. Like, that's really, really good value. We're going to take Brandon Ayuk. I haven't taken him at all so far this year. Obviously, Debo's hurt. Jalen Hurd tore his ACL now. Like, he has the opportunity to perform. Trent Taylor is also a guy to watch out for. Like, George Kittle could have like 120 receptions just because they don't have too many other people to throw to. Like, that sounds crazy, but I don't know where else they're going to throw the ball. So we got an A- on this one as well. 92. Yeah, so we got 92 on both of them. Fantasy Pros, pretty much graded out about the same. Yates was a little bit lower. Kind of interesting since we have David Montgomery, and he's big on David Montgomery this year. But this was our team overall. Matthew Stafford, Le'Veon Bell, David Montgomery, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, Robert Woods, Blake Jarwin, Will Fuller, Kareem Hunt, Ronald Jones, Jordan Howard, Preston Williams, Chase Edmonds, and Brandon Ayuk. So overall, I think this is a pretty good team. We kind of did like a modified zero RB strategy. We went 3 wide receivers first, and then we kind of picked up our RB running backs. Then we went another wide receiver. Then we loaded up on some running backs and a couple of flyer wide receivers. But overall, I think this is a great team. Obviously, our running back one spot's not the best, but we have 3 guys that could potentially be a wide receiver one on this team. And then we got Will Fuller, who could be a giant breakout candidate this year. Then you pair that up with 2 consistent running backs. Then we got guys like Kareem Hunt here and Chase Edmonds, who could be like league winner type of running backs if the guy in front of them happens to get hurt or their role expands for whatever reason. Ronald Jones could break out this year. Jordan Howard has a chance in Miami, especially if something would happen to Matt Breida that he gets all the workload as well. And like I said, Preston Williams we talked about a little bit in other videos. Brandon Ayuk, he could have a big role if Shanahan trusts him, and he gets used pretty early this year. We'll take a little look at everybody else's team. First pick, I had Christian McCaffrey, Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. So he pretty much went CMC and then 0 RB after that. Overall, that's not a bad looking start. Putting DK and Metcalf together is kind of interesting, but it kind of like outweighs some of the risk with them. So if one of them has a big game, then like the other one's all right. I don't think it's the worst strategy in the world. Devin Singletary in the 6th is kind of interesting, but it's at the end of the 6th, so it's not too bad a pick. Deshaun Watson, Darius Slayton. I'm not sure how I feel about Slayton pick here. I probably tried to pick up some more running backs. And then he went Raheem Mostert, Marlon Mack. I kind of like those 2 picks with the strategy that he took. Austin Hooper and Dallas Goedert, Jamal Williams, and Ryan Tannehill. Not too crazy about the last 2 picks there. I think here though, like if you're taking Devin Singletary, I would pretty much if you're taking him in the 6th round, I'd pair him with Zach Moss. I can't remember where exactly Zach Moss went in this draft, but if you're grabbing him there, you can pick Zach Moss up. Zach Moss went down in round 12, so if you can pick him up round 6 and pick Zach Moss off in round 11, you just want to have that safety there just in case Moss takes all over. It's not something you should do with like every backfield, but like in that case, I would consider it smart. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Parker, and Brandon Cooks. I think that's a pretty good start there. Dak Prescott in the 7th's fine. Justin Jefferson, that's a little bit early for him. Cam Akers in the 9th. So we talked about him a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be that great this year. But in the 9th round, that's like where you can start to take a chance on a rookie running back like that. Looks like he went before Dobbins. I would rather pick Dobbins there. Just higher upside for me. Then he went with another upside pick in Antonio Gibson, Jared Cook, Mike Gesicki, Damian Harris, and Jared Goff. So overall, that's not too bad a team. Then the 3rd pick was Ezekiel Elliott, George Kittle, Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon, Julian Edelman, Jamison Crowder, Marvin Jones. So I don't mind his wide receiver core. Maybe I'd rather have somebody a little bit stronger than Keenan Allen. Maybe DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, Robert Woods, somewhere over here. And then Melvin Gordon, I'm not like crazy about. Maybe you take a James Conner instead. He has more upside, but he also has more injury history. Carson Wentz, Tariq Cohen, Adrian Peterson. Like, I'm okay with those picks. Randall Cobb in the 11th is kind of interesting, so apparently he's been moving up a little bit. Chris Thompson, Aaron Rodgers, and Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald in the last round is kind of interesting, but if Kirk's hurt again, maybe he gets a little bit of a role and can kind of fill in as like a flex spot or low-end wide receiver 3. Alvin Kamara, Kenny Galladay, Lamar Jackson, David Johnson, Terry McLaurin. So the first 5 picks, nothing too wrong there. Tyler Higbee in the 6th is way too early. Christian Kirk in the 7th is also early. James White, Golden Tate, Latavius Murray, Curtis Samuel, Lamar Miller. So Lamar Miller is actually getting drafted in the 12th now. It could be all right. I'd rather pick him as like one of the last round picks. You don't know how healthy he's going to be coming off the ACL tear. And then how New England is going to use their backfield. Jack Doyle and Michael Pittman Jr. I'm okay with those 2 picks. And being both Colts, you're going to figure out who's the guy that Philip Rivers wants to target. Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, DJ Moore, DJ Chark, AJ Green, DeAndre Swift. I like this start. Probably would swap out AJ Green for somebody else. Maybe Tyler Boyd. They went a couple picks later just to have a little bit more safety. AJ Green obviously has his injury history. Then we got Rob Gronkowski. Like I said, I want to take a tight end that early. Matt Ryan, Mecole Hardman, Deshaun Jackson. So he's taking some wide receiver flyers. I'm not going to hate either of those ones. Tevin Coleman, that's a decent pick there. A.J. Dillon, Jonnu Smith, and Cam Newton. So overall, that looks like a pretty solid draft. Michael Thomas, Travis Kelce, Aaron Jones, A.J. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Marquise Brown, and Hunter Henry, Drew Brees. I kind of like that start. It's not an awful team. Philip Lindsay, Keyshawn Vaughn, Alshon Jeffrey. I don't know why Alshon's still going like high. Like, it's not high, but like he should be like a last round pick or undrafted pretty much at this point. Boston Scott, Samuel Watkins, and Baker Mayfield. Not too bad a team overall. Then we had Derrick Henry, Patrick Mahomes, Adam Thielen, Chris Carson, T.Y. Hilton, Deebo Samuel, Henry Ruggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Jerry Jeudy. So his team didn't look too bad. Then we got kind of like in this range, and I'm not like crazy about any of these picks. Deebo is still going a little bit too high for me. I think Henry Ruggs is a little bit high. Emmanuel Sanders, like you guys know, I think is high. I'm probably not going to own Jerry Jeudy in any drafts this year. He could have an okay season, but I don't think he's going to end up being like wide receiver 3 or anything. So like you'd only be able to pick and choose him in certain matchups. Kerryon Johnson, Noah Fant, Justin Jackson, Eric Ebron, DeAndre Washington. Not too bad overall. I like taking chances on Jackson and Washington here. Taking a chance on Fant and Ebron together, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. Maybe you can play the matchup of who has the good week. I don't think Fant's going to be anything great this year. He'll be like, Fant's probably going to be a little bit better than last year, but not like exceptionally better at all. Joe Mixon, Chris Godwin. I like picking those two guys together in like the first, second round. Zach Ertz, like I said, it's a little bit too early for me. Cooper Kupp, James Conner, Russell Wilson. So I like those picks so far. Then he takes Evan Ingram. I don't know why teams keep doing this in the mock where they take a tight end early and then they take like Evan Ingram or I think the other day was Tyler Higbee. like in the middle round. It's like if you took a tight end early, you don't take another one till like pretty much the end of the draft. It just doesn't make any sense. Sterling Shepard, Matt Breida, Robbie Anderson, Duke Johnson, Naheem Hines, Brashard Perriman, and D.D. Westbrook. I'm not real crazy about this draft. I think it started out with two guys I really liked. Cooper Kupp in the 4th was fine. James Conner in the 5th was fine. Russell's here is kind of fine, but it's just like the rest of it I'm not excited about. Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, Mark Andrews, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, Michael Gallup, Deontay Johnson. So I like this team overall. I like the running back pairing here. Mark Andrews in 3rd is a little bit too early for me, but getting Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, Michael Gallup, Deontay Johnson, I think that could make up a pretty solid wide receiver core. Might not have as high end as some other units, but I think it's got a lot of potential. Josh Allen, J.K. Dobbins, I like the Dobbins pick there as well. Jalen Reagor, Alexander Madison, and Pollard, Daniel Jones, and Paris Campbell. So I think this is a team that's got a lot of upside. Whether or not it hits it, we'll have to see. Then we had our team. Then the team after us was DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Leonard Fournette, Todd Gurley, Stephon Diggs, Jarvis Landry, Tom Brady. So Brady here is a little bit too early for me. Like, Tom Brady went in the 7th. We picked Matthew Stafford in the 12th. They're a lot closer than that. I don't think you need to be taking him like 4 rounds earlier. Mark Ingram. So Mark Ingram here, that was kind of how I talked about. Like, if he's going there, I think that's a pretty decent pick. CeeDee Lamb, that's fine. Mike Williams here. I like Mike Williams kind of as a sleeper this year. Everybody's just kind of counting him out because Phillip Rivers left. But he's not a guy I find myself drafting a lot. We took Preston Williams. If Mike Williams is there, probably like the 11th, 12th round, and we need a wide receiver, I would consider him there, though. T.J. Hawkinson, Zach Moss, Chris Herndon, and Joshua Kelly. So were those his only tight ends? Yeah. So Hawkinson and Herndon, I don't like pairing these two guys together. Hawkinson's got the injury history. Herndon's had a whole bunch of problems last year. I am not buying into that Chris Herndon hype that people are trying to sell. I think his snaps are going to be limited. Gase and Darnold both kind of trusted Ryan Griffin last year when Herndon wasn't playing. So, like, the camp reports might look good on him, and, like, he might be a good athlete, but if they don't trust him in the system, it doesn't matter. Then the last pick, Kenyon Drake and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So they took the two guys that we took in the first draft, Amari Cooper, Odell Beckham, Darren Waller, Kyler Murray. I'm not crazy about these two wide receivers together. The fact that he put Darren Waller and Hayden Hurst here, like, that close to each other is mind-boggling to me as well. Like, just don't take Darren Waller, take another wide receiver or running back here. You could have taken David Montgomery. No, excuse me. I mean, you could take in like a DeAndre Swift. You could have took a Brandon Cook shot. You could have taken a Will Fuller shot. You could have taken Jarvis Landry. There's a lot of people that would have been a better pick than a second tight end in that situation. John Brown, still too early for me. Shoney Michelle, I'm not buying this year. Anthony Miller here, you guys know I like that pick. N'Keal Harry, he's had a lot of hype this year. Cam Newton likes to throw to big wide receivers. But the report out of camp is N'Keal Harry can't even, like, he's struggling to separate from coverage. So we'll have to see. I can't remember who I was listening to the other day. Like, being in the fantasy community, like, it doesn't mean that you don't listen to other people that are also in the community. I think that's, like, if that's your way of thinking, it's wrong, because there's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of people that have good information. And this show, this podcast, is just talking about every year in, like, training camp, they always have good hype news. So, like, everybody's hyped, everybody looks good, you know. Don't buy too much into that. But, like, kind of like if they say something negative about somebody, then that's where you kind of have to start paying attention. And in this case, that might be N'Keal Harry. Then he had Darrell Henderson in the 12th. I like that pick there. Alan Lazard and Giovanni Bernard. Not too bad a draft overall. Like, he's got a lot of picks I didn't really like, so kind of more of an average team for me. But going back to, like, what I said with N'Keal Harry, I think one guy that's a big sleeper this year that a lot of people aren't talking about is Jacoby Myers. He was a college quarterback. He converted to wide receiver. He was a rookie last year. He was an undrafted free agent. He had some games last year where he looked all right. But being what it is with the Patriots wide receiver core, you got Julian Edelman, you got Mohamed Sanu. Those are the only two guys that you know are going to play. Like N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers, I can't even remember who else they had there. Like, they're all going to be fighting for, like, a third wide receiver spot, even though it's probably going to be one of the starting receivers. It'll be interesting to see how they use their two rookie tight ends as well. They kind of remind me, so Devin Asiasi kind of reminds me of Rob Gronkowski, like, that's the mold they're trying to pick from. He's not Gronkowski. Do not take that out of context. And then Dalton Keene, they took a tight end out of West Virginia. They're kind of looking for him to play the role that Aaron Hernandez did play. So they're trying to pair up two guys that are similar skill sets in the roles that Gronkowski and Hernandez played before. They probably might never be as good as those two players, especially when it comes to Gronkowski. He is one of the best tight ends that the league has seen. But he makes sense with the system fit. I think Asiasi is somebody that could be a sleeper, but he's going to be one of them guys you stream on a matchup basis, because rookie tight ends, they pretty much never pan out in fantasy. But with that being said, this was our mock draft from the number 10 pick. Overall, both teams that we ended up with look pretty good, pretty solid. I would be happy with them if I was picking out of the number 10 spot. Hopefully this mock draft gives you guys a couple different ideas, strategies of how to pick out the number 10 spot. So if you're in a draft for a running back, maybe we're like the second draft where running backs go real heavy, maybe you take a stud wide receiver and then kind of go from there. If you're in a draft like the first one, maybe you can stack up on some running backs. Just be aware of your draft. Be open and willing to adapt as your draft moves along. You can't just be like, I'm going to pick this guy in the first round, I'm going to pick this guy in the second round, I'm going to pick this position in the third round. If you do that, it's not going to end up well for you. Part of drafting is just being able to adapt on the fly. But with that being said, if you guys liked and enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps us out here at Coach Craig Sports, the community that we are trying to build together. If you are a new or current subscriber who hasn't already hit the notification bell, please do so. It's also down below. It'll let you know every time that I put up a new video. Tomorrow's video will be a mock draft from the number 11 spot. So we're almost done with this mock draft series. We got tomorrow's video. Then I should be doing the number 12 over this weekend, and then the number 1 pick early next week as well. Then after that, we're probably going to look at some streamers for week 1. So quarterback streamers, tight end streamers, and streamer defense. So we're going to be looking at people that have good matchups in week 1. If you're going to take a streamer strategy, we'll talk a little bit about what the streamer strategy is, how to stream, how to look for guys that have good matchups, and when to stream them. And then the last little piece of news that I got is I actually joined League on Sleeper. It's going to be with a bunch of other fantasy football analysts, and we're going to be doing the draft for that league this weekend. I'll probably do like a little reaction video to the draft, kind of talk about some of my strategies overall for the draft and how it played out for me. With that being said, that's pretty much all I got for today. If you guys have anything else, leave it down in the comments. If there's anything you'd like to see in the future, or you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's in the comments at CoachCraigSports@gmail.com, at the Facebook page, Coach Craig Sports, or if you're on the Fantasy Football discussion group on Facebook as well, you can reach out to me on there as well. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day.